Hello, my name is Justin Burt. I am a graduate research assistant here at the University of Georgia in Tifton, and today I'll be discussing the grazing and management of hairy vetch as a forage. So, what exactly is hairy vetch? Hairy vetch is a cool season annual legume, and this particular legume has a high nitrogen fixation capability that is associated with it. If you look at the picture to the right of the screen, you can see it is has a distinct purple flower that is associated with it for its blooms, as well as it's more of a viney runner type plant, as also can be noted in this picture as well to the right. Hairy vetch is commonly used as a cover crop. However, with cover crops, we do have an opportunity to use those in livestock systems. So, hairy vetch can be used in livestock animal production, particularly ruminant animals, as hay, silage, or for grazing purposes. Uh, Unlike legumes such as alfalfa, hairy vetch has a low bloat potential, whereas alfalfa has a higher bloat potential that is associated with it. It is also to the establishment portion of hairy vetch. It does grow well in the state of Georgia. It grows well in sandy loamy type soils that have a pH of at least 6. There you can broadcast seeds for hairy vetch at a rate of 25 to 30 pounds per acre, or you can drill the seeds into the ground with a no-till drill at a seeding rate of 20 to 25 pounds per acre. And when using a no-till drill, it should be noted that the seed depth should be 1 to 2 inches. It is also highly suggested to plant hairy vetch in with a cereal grain or annual ryegrass that is being used for livestock feeding, not for human consumption, mainly due to the runners that are associated with the plant. That cereal grain, such as cereal rye or wheat, or the annual ryegrass, provides sort of a support for those vines to run and grip onto. And if you are grazing hairy vetch, it should only make up at the most 10% of that pasture. For forage management of hairy vetch, there are three main options that are commonly utilized. There's hay production, silage production, and grazing opportunities. As mentioned before, when hairy vetch should be interseeded in with a cereal grain or with annual ryegrass. So if you are making hay or silage, it's a good uh, component to add in with those um, for the hay or silage. If you are cutting hairy vetch for hay, it should be cut in the early bloom stage. Uh, and when grazing hairy vetch, you should begin to graze the forage whenever it's at least 6 inches tall. And it does better in a rotationally grazed system that does not have a high stocking density. So hairy vetch is not tolerant of the continuous grazing, heavy stocking density foot traffic that that is common in some production systems. So a smaller amount of animals, it would be the best suited for that. And it's also should be noted that when grazing hairy vetch, you should not let that plant form a seed head. And the reason for that is the issue of hairy vetch toxicosis. Now, hairy vetch toxicosis can be seen at any stage of grazing hairy vetch, but is more commonly seen when that hairy vetch is allowed to produce a seed head. Now, that being said, hairy vetch toxicosis is rarely seen when it is being grazed, particularly when it's being grazed appropriately. However, whenever it is seen, you usually see skin lesions, diarrhea. There are some neurological imbalances, as well as decreased performance. Alopecia and abortions have been reported. And hairy vetch toxicosis can occur in any animal species, but it's more common in cattle and occasionally horses, particularly those that are have black pigmented skin. Now, that does not mean that it cannot happen in say a Charolais, but it is more commonly seen in those black pigmented skin animals, such as your black Angus or Sim Angus cattle that are black hided and skinned. This condition is thought to be caused from a genetic susceptibility to this toxin, but there's no current test for this. So when grazing this, you have to be careful. You should consult with your local extension agent, a veterinarian, if you think you might have an issue, because death is also a symptom that can be seen. So these two pictures just kind of show some of those symptoms of the hairy vetch toxicosis. As you can see on the picture with the left, that animal's neck, there are skin lesions along his neck there, as well as in the picture to the right. You can see more of a alopecia occurring. It's more of a dermatitis type disease, but it can, as mentioned before, it can cause other issues, and death can also be associated with it if it's not managed appropriately. So in summary, if using hairy vetch as a forage, you should rotationally graze the livestock on it, but it should also be noted that the producer should allow for only 10% of that pasture to be made up of hairy vetch. And as well as with hairy vetch, again, you should watch for signs of the hairy vetch toxicosis, particularly with animals that are the black pigmented skinned animals. And also, as mentioned before, you should consult with your extension agent or nutritionist to see if this forage is a good fit for your operation. Thank you. And here are resources that you can also look up that also give more information on hairy vetch. Thank you and have a good day.